How's it going, everybody? And welcome to this week's episode of That Tracks. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been a very long day, so I surprised Luke and took him to the Bucks game today, which was a lot of fun. The Bucks won, so that was very exciting. But Tim and I's schedules continue to remain pretty busy and pretty wild, so we are obviously not together for this episode. This isn't going to be a very long episode, but I didn't want to not give you guys an episode this week considering the big news that was shared with my family. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen that Francie and I have announced that we are expecting a little girl. We are so excited. Francie is due in June, and so Zoey Elizabeth will be making her debut then hopefully healthily and safely. Yeah, we are filled with joy. We are over the moon, excited about this. So I just wanted to hop on and kind of give a little bit of the story of that and just celebrate that moment with you all because I felt like I needed to. I felt like, I've shared our journey on this podcast, and I have felt so celebrated by all of you via Instagram. And I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for your comments, and just your DMs and the support that you've shown our family. We are feeling all of the love, and little Zoe does not know how loved she is. Um, Already. Like she's so full. Like our hearts are so full of love for her. Her brother's hearts are so full of love for her, and my families are all very excited as well. So, um, in particular, our families are super pumped because it's the first granddaughter on both sides of the family. It's the first girl niece, on both sides of the family. So everyone is very excited. And during the holidays, it was definitely something that we celebrated. We didn't know that we were going to get to celebrate that. We kind of so we were waiting on the results of Francie's blood work to find out the gender, and we. I'm just going to get into the story. I don't want to jump ahead too far, but I did want to start off by just saying a special thank you to all of you because truly we've felt so celebrated since the announcement, and we could not wait to get it out there. A lot of you guys said you picked up on it last week when I said that I had some personal news to share. And I was like, I have been looking forward to the moment to share that news for so long that like it's been everything. It's taken everything in me not to like jump into that. So like in talking about 2025 and like what I'm excited for, please, that one takes the cake for sure. That is the thing that I am most excited about. Just to have another child is going to be so incredible to grow our family, and to have a little girl is just um, it makes this year something so special to look forward to. And that being said, like I do want to also say, um, like again, I've shared our journeys, our journey through growing our family biologically on here, many a times, and the heartache that we've been through, and the pain that we have felt. Francie and I have been trying to grow our family biologically for years, really since not long after Luke was born. And so he'll be 9 in July. So it's been a long time, and we've had two miscarriages in that process. And obviously, we're super, super blessed to have grown our family via adoption. And I cannot wait to watch Ethan be a big brother. He is going to absolutely crush it. But that journey has been something that we've navigated through, and that's been very difficult at times. And so I some of those moments that were the most painful is when we watched other people that we knew or that we were close with announce their pregnancies, because it's so challenging and it's so hard to see someone else get what your heart is longing for most. And so I just also wanted to take a second to share that, like, um, we are obviously thrilled and we're celebrating, but my heart breaks for the people that like this affects in that way as well. That's just the type of person that I am. That's who I am. Um, I I'll always think about how things could be affecting somebody else, and so my heart breaks for you if you're watching or listening to this, and you're walking through struggles of growing your family. Just know that you are so loved, and we see you, and we've felt that pain. I even like have a hard time saying that sometimes because I like when I would see people announce that they were expecting, in some ways, like they no longer understood my pain, because I was still waiting. And so um yeah, I just want people to know how loved they are. And some people have made comments about like the fact that seeing us announce this and seeing us discuss that we're expecting, it brings them a sense of hope. And I can relate to that as well. I had situations and circumstances where seeing someone else who walked through infertility end up getting pregnant, it did bring hope. So anyways, I say all of that to say, um, you know, you're loved. And I'm sorry that you're walking through what you're walking through. But I'm gonna kind of jump into like the timeline of what's been happening behind the scenes. And I did this on my Instagram story, so some of it may be a little bit redundant too if you follow me on Instagram, but I just kind of wanted to like talk about what's led us up to this moment. And so we found out that we were expecting on October 15th. I was sitting downstairs. Francie and I had just watched Dancing with the Stars. And so she went up to go start getting ready for bed. I was sitting downstairs watching something I was on the couch watching something on TV, and I started to doze off. And then all of a sudden, Francie came downstairs, like so excited. And we felt like such a rush of excitement and joy. And we we like obviously we've been trying to grow our family, but after years of a no and a no and a no, you start to just like in your brain you start to kind of like throw it aside, or like think that it's just not going to happen for you. And I will honestly say that like I was getting to the point where I was at the point where I was like, okay, this is our family unit. And this is what our family unit is going to look like. We have two incredible, amazing little boys. And that's what it's going to be. And I was getting to a point where I was really trying my best to accept that. Not, I don't like saying it like that because it's such a blessing and it's such a beautiful thing, my two little boys, absolutely. Um, but when your heart longs to continue to grow your family and your heart longs for that, it is hard. It is hard to allow yourself to like push that longing aside. And so I was finally getting to a point where I was working really hard to just be like, okay, like we are so blessed. I am so grateful for what we have. And let's like focus on that kind of moving forward. Um, and so I was getting to the point where I was kind of like allowing myself to feel that, and then the pregnancy test was positive. But I also want to say too, like a lot of people will say like, oh, as soon as you are not stressing and as soon as you're not worried about it, then that's when it's going to happen for you. Meh. There were many a times over the last several years that Francie and I were not stressed about it. Like our family grew over the last several years, and we were very much focused on like bringing this beautiful little boy into our home and parenting him and bonding with him and navigating that. And so yeah, there's been many a moments over the last few years that we have not stressed about it, that we have been able to just like that life has brought our attention elsewhere. So I, I just hate that. I hate when people say like, "Don't stress." It's like, okay, yeah, thank you. So anyways, so we found out on October 15th. We were very excited, but also like, and literally that night, it was like it was equal excitement and also like fear and being terrified. Also, I wanted to point out that you guys followed us along on our hurricane journey back in October. Francie was pregnant and we didn't even know it. So pretty wild thinking about like everything that we went through with the hurricane and like Francie being pregnant that entire time. Obviously very, very early, but like it's wild to kind of think about that. Like the road trip across the country and all of that kind of stuff. But anyway, so we found out, and yeah, immediately were met with so much excitement, but also a lot of fear. We have in both of our miscarriages, one of the miscarriages we discovered at like 10 weeks. Or no, I'm sorry, we discovered it at like 12 weeks. The baby's heart had stopped beating around 10 weeks. And then the other miscarriage, we found out that we were pregnant on like a Sunday, and then on Friday we started miscarrying. Francie started miscarrying. So yeah, so we've been through two kind of different situations and scenarios with miscarriage, and so yeah, anytime that you've walked through that, immediately your brain goes to, okay, this is awesome, but how long is this going to last? And that's a very real thought that both Francie and I had. And in some ways, we felt like we were kind of like pushing ourselves to get excited about this news because we had more fear than we did confidence, I guess you could say. And so it was hard. It was definitely very challenging, very exciting for sure. And it was fun getting to tell like we told people that were very close to us and our families, and then a few close friends, kind of right out the gate. They're like our biggest support system. They're our circle, and we knew that like if anything happened, that those were going to be the people that we would talk to, obviously, and we would want the support of them, you know. So that was fun and that was exciting. We made the decision to kind of like hold off on telling the boys for a little while, for obvious reasons that I just talked about. Um, so we had our first doctor's appointment. We actually had an appointment very quickly after finding out the news. Francie called the doctor, and it was not long after finding out that they did. We had an appointment. They did like a quick ultrasound. At that point, there wasn't a lot to see because it was so early. But we did find out that everything was like where it was supposed to be, and that brought us some peace for sure. And then obviously like getting Francie's blood work and all that kind of stuff. And then we had another doctor's appointment. I think it was on November 7th. I know that the date doesn't necessarily matter, but I think that was around, yeah, it was November 7th. We had a doctor's appointment, and that appointment went well. Again, we had another ultrasound, and again, it was early, so there wasn't a lot that we could see. But it was just anytime that we're getting feedback from the doctors and like confidence back from them, it makes us feel very good. And so um, that was a great appointment. Now, after that appointment was over, that evening, Francie got a call from the doctor, and they let her know. And I'm pulling this up on my phone because I butcher the name of this every single time, but it's a chorionic hematoma. And she got a call from the doctor saying that that is something that they had noticed through the ultrasound, and so it's just given Francie some restrictions. And while they tend to go away on their own, and I'm not going to go into like the specifics on what that is. You are welcome to look that up, but I will do a very bad job of explaining that to you. But um, they tend to go away on their own, but they also can pose risk to the pregnancy, and so um, being met with that news and not having a full understanding of like what it was and what the implications were and all of that, and honestly just Googling it. a wave of anxiety came over me because I was actually not with Francie when she got the call from the doctor. It was the first night of Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party. And I had just checked in, getting ready to cover content for work, and Francie called me with that information. And Francie was like so calm and so peaceful about it. And that helped me for sure. But not being there with her really stressed me out. And that was going to be a busy weekend for me because I was also going to be covering Jollywood Nights 2 nights after that. And so I was going to be away from the family that entire weekend. And um, so yeah, so that was pretty overwhelming. That's actually the first time that I told Tim that we were expecting because I was with Tim and Jen at Magic Kingdom and was feeling pretty anxious. And Tim and Jen have always been people that like bring me peace. Anytime that I'm around them, Tim especially has just this like calming presence about him. And so I told him kind of what was going on and celebrated that news about, the fact that we were expecting with them, but then just kind of like asked for their support as we were going to be navigating this chapter in the journey. And so we also have, I have an incredible friends whose family member is a doctor and an OBGYN and got a lot of peace in going to them and sharing the news with them and kind of asking them questions about like what this was and like they were very reassuring to us as well. So um that has been doing what it's supposed to be doing and shrinking and absorbing and going away on its own. So that's been huge, and we've gotten that information from other ultrasounds that we have had. So we are celebrating that for sure. So couple of weeks after that, we decided like we were getting closer and closer to like the end of the first trimester, and we were not completely out of it yet, and we had like about a month before it was going to be over, maybe a little bit less than that. We decided wanted to tell the boys. We also had done I'm going to butcher the name of this test as well, but it's the blood work test that you can do that will also it'll give you a lot of information on baby, but it will also um, I always get the letters mixed up. The NIPT test. I know a lot of you are like, come on, Nick. Um, but yeah, we had done that. We did that back in November, and it turned out that it was a little too early to get like a full read on gender. So we waited for that. We were hoping to get those results back for Thanksgiving so that we could tell our families the gender at Thanksgiving. But when the results came back, they came back basically telling us that it was too early when Francie had been tested, which was kind of like, it was like we kind of wish that the doctors had maybe waited a week before they had tested her so that we could get a full read. So, anyways, that was no big deal. They did the test again, and then it was just the waiting game. But we told the boys that we were expecting like right before Thanksgiving because we were kind of hoping on the information on the gender so that they could help share that information with us. Plus, we were just really excited and ready to tell them. And we were also like, Francie, obviously, like, we're theme park people. So when we were going to the parks, it was like Francie obviously was not riding a lot of things. And it was just getting to the point where it was like, they are questioning things. Like they're like, why can't mommy do this? Or why is mom Francie also like the biggest thing for her in the first trimester was just exhaustion, which is it tracks because that is similar to like her experience with Luke. Um, she just would hit like 8:30 p.m. and she was like done. And so the boys were just like, mommy's just like not herself right now, and she's not riding these rides, and like what's going on? So yeah, we got to the point where we're like, okay, let's bring them in the loop. And we did. We told them at or at Wilderness Lodge, and they were so thrilled. They were so excited. Um, Luke has been adjusting to the idea that it's not a little brother because that's what he wanted at first. He's very excited to have a little sister for sure, and Ethan is so thrilled. They're both super pumped. But we are also like moving them into a room together to make room for little Zoe to have a nursery. And so that's been fun to navigate as well. Ethan is thrilled to have bunk beds and to be in a room with his big brother. Luke is very excited that he's going to now have a Buccaneers room. And I think there's some apprehension there about like sharing a room, but they're going to love it. They have such a beautiful bond that it's going to be really special to watch. And so um, anyways, they were thrilled. It was fun, and it was also just so nice for them to know, so that we can all just like talk about it, and then get excited together and kind of look forward to everything together. And at that point, we didn't know whether it was going to be a boy or a girl, so it was fun to just kind of like be in the waiting game for that as well. So, um, and so it was fun to be together in that. And so then we had another ultrasound on December 6th, which was very timely because it was right before I left on the cruise. And that was huge because when we went, this was like almost 12 weeks for us. And when we went to that appointment with one of our pregnancies that we discovered that we had miscarried in, um, that was an appointment where we went into that appointment thinking like, okay, we're going to be able to like announce it to the world like after this appointment, like this is so exciting. And then when we got there, and this was like back in 2018, when we got to that appointment, we noticed that the heart had stopped beating, and that was totally devastating to us and absolutely wrecked us. And like for anybody that has been in that same seat, sitting there, um, watching the ultrasound tech try to find a heartbeat and it not happening, it's absolutely devastating. And so we went into this appointment in December with a lot of anxiety and a lot of nervousness. And so I was also very thankful that this appointment was happening before I left on the cruise, because I was feeling super anxious about going on this preview sailing of the Treasure, leaving Francie. God forbid something happened to her, and I'm in the middle of the Caribbean on a ship that I talked about, like the panic that I can get in terms of like separation anxiety and like what that can be like for me, and how I experienced it back in May when I went to Disneyland. And that was when like the family was just kind of operating as normal. The idea of getting a phone call or a text message from Francie that something was happening while I was so far away was starting to really like get to me. And so I was super thankful that like we were going to be able to have that appointment before. So um, we did, and so we go to the ultrasound room, and as soon as they found little Zoe, um, she was like kicking and waving and like looked like she was just flipping all over the place. It did not take long to like get that heartbeat. It was super strong, and we both cried for sure. It was such a special moment, and we felt so much excitement just knowing that baby was okay and was healthy and safe. And so that was a really special moment, and it was really special getting to like share with the people that we had told at that point, that everything was okay. Like so many people were praying for us and rooting for us and just like there to support us no matter what. But to share that like everything was good was so special. And so they did another NIPT test on Francie like right after that. And then it was like another waiting game of like, okay, well, when are we going to get the results back from this? And when I say right after that, it was actually probably about a week after that. Um, and so we were in the waiting game, and we like the week of Christmas, we like went through the I think it was Christmas Eve, um, and we still had not gotten any results. And it kind of just felt like, okay, well, like offices are going to close for the holiday. So like at this point, it feels like we won't be getting the news on gender until after Christmas, which all of our families were very ready to find out the gender at that point because they wanted so badly to be able to like buy us things. I'll speak to that too in a second because um, there's more to say too about like I'll get to that. So, anyways, Christmas Eve rolls around, and Francie was standing in the kitchen, and I looked at her and I was like, "Have you checked to see?" Because all of the results come back on an app on her phone. I was like, "Have you checked to see if we've gotten any of the results back?" And she was like, "No." She was kind of just like ruling it out at that point. She's like, "I'm so sorry." She was like, "It's Christmas Eve. Like, I don't think it's happening. It's midday." And I was like, well, let's just check to see. And so all of a sudden I heard, oh my gosh, they're there. And her mom was sitting on the counter and she immediately started crying. She was so excited that we had gotten that information. And she was like, you guys go upstairs, go look at the results. And so we did. Francie and I came up here and I just shared that video on my social media as well. And for people that listen to this or watch this, my handle is the theme park dad. If you're new to listening or watching, but anyways, I shared that moment that Francie and I looked at those results and I lost it. I was, we were both pretty convinced that it was going to be a boy, and I don't know if that's just because like that's what our lives are, but obviously like we just want a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely was thrilled at the news that it was going to be a little girl because I cannot wait. I'm probably going to get emotional here. Sorry. I can't wait to be a girl dad. Like, it's such a special thing. I already feel this like incredible bond with her. And I can't wait to meet her. And I just like I want my boys always to know how much their daddy loves them. Luke doesn't call me daddy anymore, and it's really annoying. He calls me dad. But I want them to know how loved they are by their father. And I have such a beautiful bond with each of my boys. But to have a little girl, and to just like really like dote upon her and spoil her. And I spoil both of my boys too, but like, I don't know. I'm just really excited for this relationship and I'm really excited for this bond that we get to have. I'm looking forward to so many like daddy daughter date nights because those are going to happen so often. And I just like picture myself walking around Magic Kingdom with my little girl. It's really, really special. So, whew. I'm an emotional man. I'm already a softie. Parenthood has made me even more like more of an emotional human being. And I know that this little girl is going to absolutely wreck me because she already is. So, Zoe, your daddy loves you. But yeah, so anyways, finding that out was extremely special and very overwhelming. We found it out about around noon on Christmas Eve. And then it was funny because then we just like walked downstairs. The boys were playing outside with Francie's dad, and Francie's mom was sitting there. And then it was like I called my mom and I was like, "Hey, we know." And she's like, "Well," and I was like, "I can't tell you yet." And Francie's mom was like, like dying to know what we had found out, but we wanted to make it special and we had already pre-planned that like once we found out we were going to let some close friends know and then like our families know that we had the information with our families. We were going to do like a Zoom call to like reveal that information to them. And like it all happened very fast because it was Christmas Eve. Everyone's schedules were, busy. Like everyone was with families and other sides of the families and all that kind of stuff. And so we scheduled a Zoom call. We found out at noon. We scheduled a Zoom call for 3 o'clock. And then we went to a Christmas Eve service that started at I can't remember if it started at 5. No, it started at 4 o'clock. And so we were like, okay, at 3 o'clock, everyone be on this Zoom call. We had pre-bought blue or pink um, like smoke cannons that we were going to let the boys spray, dependent on what the gender was. And the boys, we didn't tell. Like they found out when they started spraying the smoke cannons. But yeah, so we got everybody on the Zoom call at 3 o'clock, and then revealed it to everybody, to all of our family, and they were so thrilled, so excited. Everyone was immediately like looking at little girl baby outfits and all of those things. And that's one of the things that I wanted to speak to is just like we have a box of clothes already for Zoe, and it's such a beautiful thing, and it's so like it's so overwhelming to feel the love and support from our families the way that we have. There, everyone is just so excited, and like even myself I've already started to buy clothes for Zoe that I see that I'm like, this is great, and Francie as well. But it's also hard sometimes, like walking through what we've walked through. And I actually talked to a close friend of mine on the phone the other day for a while. He and his wife have navigated stillbirth. And, I was talking to him and I was telling him, like, as exciting as it is to get these things, sometimes I have moments where it makes me anxious. Um, and I'm sure a lot of people can probably relate to that, but it's like you're so thrilled and you're so excited to have something for this little one, but I still have moments, and Francie does too. We still have moments where like, is this real? Is this really happening? Like, and not just like I'm not saying that in terms of like we're shocked, but more so in like is this going to really happen for us? You have moments where you're like, when is this all going to come crashing down? And I hate saying that out loud. But that's just a very real and raw emotion that I have felt. And that's hard. And it's, like it's challenging, and it's not going to be something that goes away. It's gonna go away the day that little Zoe is in my arms. But because we've gone through what we've gone through with pregnancy and just getting to this point, there's a lot of like there's a lot of angst, a lot of anxiety, wrapped into the journey as well. And like, obviously we're celebrating and we're so pumped and we're so thrilled and we're so excited, and yeah, like the cute outfits are all over the place. But like, you know, it's just real. I'm just, me, I'm always gonna keep it 100% in like in what I'm feeling, and I have to share those things because I know that there's other people out there listening to this that have experienced that as well, and it makes me feel comfort knowing that that you're not alone, um, and experiencing that fear and anxiety as well. So, um, but yeah, so super thrilled, super excited, and it was so cool and so special to announce to everybody on Christmas Eve of all the days. It made waking up Christmas morning so special. We had the boy's name picked out, and we had Zoe picked out. And we bought two stockings from Target with like the letter for either of those names, and they both were sitting on like where we hang all of our stockings. In fact, if you guys go to my Instagram and watch a video from a couple of days before Christmas, we were baking all day. And in the background of one of the videos, you'll see we had the two stockings hanging on the same hook, but the Z was in front of the other letter. And you can see the Z hanging there in the background of the video. And Francie and I were like, I didn't realize it until after I posted it, but when Francie and I were like, should we take this down? Like, is this going to give it away? Like obviously we knew, but no one else did. And so like it is noticeable for sure, but if you're not looking for it, then you probably wouldn't notice it. But that was something that we were like, oh my gosh, like what have we done? But we left it. So, but yeah, so it's just been so special. Like we've had the Z. So Christmas morning, the Z stocking was hanging there. I had already bought a couple of little things um for Zoe without knowing. It was like a little book, and then I bought something while I was on the Disney Treasure so that we had gifts for her under the tree. And yeah, so that was really cool. That was very exciting and very special to just to be able to celebrate that on Christmas. And then flying up to Michigan, we did make sure, obviously, with the doctor that Francie was okay to fly, and they felt comfortable with it. Um, they were like, "Yeah, you're totally fine." So we went up to Michigan to go see my family, and they were all super excited. I think my mom bought Zoe like 20 outfits. Such a blessing. She is so excited to have a granddaughter. But um, yeah, when we got up there, Zoe had a stocking at my parents' house, which was really special and so cute. But it's been so cool. It's been so cool to celebrate specifically during the holiday season. And then we knew when we got back, we wanted to share that information with you all. Tangled is a special movie to Francie and I. We first watched it while we were dating in college. I first held hands with Francie while watching Tangled during the I See the Light scene. And so that song, it wasn't supposed to be our first dance at our wedding. The song that we first slow danced to was supposed to be the first dance song at our wedding, but the DJ forgot to add it to the like playlist, and he couldn't get it and couldn't find it. So he ended up playing "I See the Light" for our first dance at our wedding, and so we being able to use that song to also like announce our pregnancy with our little girl was really special. We may or may not have some like nods to Tangle in the nursery. um, so the nursery is not going to be Disney themed. It's not going to be Disney movie themed. It's not going to be Tangled themed. There's not really going to be like a theme of the nursery. But we're thinking, we haven't nailed down anything specific just yet, but we're thinking about a couple of things that we found online that would be cool nods to that movie to have in the nursery as well. But um, I'm thrilled. I cannot wait. I can't wait for a little princess. But I also can't wait for like a little girl that's like going to be able to like she's gonna have two older brothers. She's gonna be tough for sure. And she is going to be able to handle herself. I think about some of the like other princesses, like not that Rapunzel can't handle herself as well because she does some work with that frying pan, but I think about like, these just like these princesses that really just like make a name for themselves, and they kick butt. And I want Zoe to be able to do that as well. I want her to be able to do whatever the heck she wants to do. I want her to, the sky's the limit for this little girl, and I can't wait to see her take on the world, because she is just going to be a boss lady and kick butt, and her dad is for sure going to be cheering her on the most. I mean, obviously, Francie and the boys will as well, but I am so thrilled and I'm so excited. And we have prayed for this for so long. And to have this fill our hearts the way that it has so far, has just been such a blessing. And we're nervous. We are going to be anxious, for sure, as we navigate through the rest of this pregnancy. And we appreciate all the support and love from everyone. And I cannot wait. I'm counting down the days till June. It's going to be a wild start to the summer between Epic Universe opening at the end of May and then Zoe coming in June. It's going to be a whirlwind of a couple of months for sure. Disneyland starting the 70th anniversary. I'm excited. I cannot wait. It's going to be such a blast. And you know, we will, you obviously can continue to just like follow along, and we'll keep everyone as a part of that journey. So appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for more from Tim and I. Yeah, I didn't want the week to go by without being able to hop on here and share all of this stuff with you guys. So I thank you all for the love, and I appreciate you, and thank you for tracking with us.